What's up, guys? So today we're going to be talking about jacks, RV jacks, stabilization. And I know what you're thinking, it's pretty easy nowadays. You just hit a button and it levels itself. But there's a little bit more to it than I think you would normally think. So this is our RV. It's a 2018 Coachman Chaparral. It's 42 feet long and we full-time in it. One of the biggest things for us was living in this full-time with our kids and 2 dogs. I wanted it stable. I wanted it to feel as much like a home as possible. So I did a bunch of research. Most people with a fifth wheel will go with a kingpin stabilizer. Well, that's great and all, but I have an Anderson hitch, which is basically a gooseneck ball. So the typical ones won't really work for this type of application. So did a bunch of research and found these JT strong arm jacks. So I found these JT strong arm jacks, which basically just supports your landing gear jacks and stabilizer jacks if you happen to have a trailer that they can be used on, like a travel trailer, something with scissor jacks, for example. But it basically just keeps it steady or more steady from front to back and side to side. So you see these 4 bars right here. They're mounted to the frame of the trailer and then to the actual landing gear jack itself. Pretty easy to install. I did not do an install video on it. I'm sorry for that, but I will tell you it is very, very simple. You use one of the existing holes from your landing gear jack and you put you're going to put this bolt through it right here, and then it has a bracket basically that comes off, which is what you see the other 2 jacks right here are going to be attached to, and then they run up to the frame. So I have mine tied in right there and back here. It's literally just the frame of the trailer. So I did have to drill 2 holes for each one of these brackets, there and then back there, then bolt them in with nuts and washers. It's all supplied in the kit. And the bottom one, like I said, is just that one bolt that goes through, and then you attach the 2 ends of the jacks onto the bracket. When you go to set up, it's really, really simple. So these stay on all the time. You don't have to take them off. You don't have to store them in your trailer or your RV and wait for you to get set up somewhere. Basically, you loosen up when you're traveling. You loosen up that wing nut and the wing nut right over there. So you just loosen them up, and that allows this inner bar to extend up into the main one on both sides, as well as these ones right here. So you can see that's a little bit smaller diameter than this one right here. So basically, really easy. If I was gonna hook this up to the truck right now, I would just loosen up those 2 wing nuts, and then the 2 wing nuts over here, which is, there and there. So 4 total. Loosen them up, don't take them all the way out, and then just run the jacks up like normal. Hook it up. When you get to where you're going, again, same process. Lower your landing gear legs like normal. I have the quick release. Just lower them like normal. Level your trailer or RV, and once it's pretty much done with the leveling, then you will go back and tighten all 4 wing nuts up pretty tight. It's all by hand. You don't have to use a wrench or anything like that, but just do it by hand tight. So what I do, we have the Lippert ground control 3.0, I think. So it's an automatic leveling system. I can either hit a button inside or in an outside compartment and just auto level the trailer. Which brings me to my next point. Before you actually hit that auto level button, you want to make sure that you're pretty close to level on the ground or foundation you're parked on to begin with. If you're too far out of level, these jacks won't have enough length or throw to be able to lift up whatever side or area needs to be lifted to level the trailer. So I keep Anderson, just like these. They're Anderson wheel chocks / ramps. There's 2 of them, so I keep those. They're plastic in my compartment. Take a look at the level inside on the control panel. before I unhook from the truck, see how off we are on either side. If I'm too far off, again, you're gonna have to gauge, you know, after living in it or using it for a certain amount of time, you'll kind of know what is gonna be too far for your jacks to work appropriately. So I just look at the bubble, make sure I'm within leveling range. If not, I'll just pull up onto some ramps. If I am in leveling range, then I can just, you know, clip these on, which are metal magnets. They're pretty awesome. So they just kind of magnet to the base of your jack pad and they stay on. You're not going to travel with them on, but once you get to where you're going, you can just clip them on with the magnet and you don't have to worry about it sliding around or making sure it's level when it hits the ground so your jack doesn't pop off of it. It's really easy. Again, these are Anderson as well. I'll link those in the description. But you'll just run it down like normal, do your auto level. Once the auto leveling is done, go tighten up your 4 wing nuts by hand. And then what I like to do, since I only have them on the front of our RV right now, is go back to my outside compartment where I can manually run jacks up and down. And I'll just take the front jacks and I'll just bump it ever so slightly in the up position. So I'm not really adjusting too much the auto level that just completed. I'm just taking some of the weight and applying it to the stabilizers that I have, if that makes any sense. So what I go by is once I get done auto leveling it and I've tightened all the wing nuts, I go up here and I just shake one of those bars and see if it has any give to it. If it has give, which normally it will, I will make sure all of them are tight, go back, hit the up button to raise my jacks in the up position, and just bump it. And I do that until I don't have any more play in these bars. I can shake them and nothing happens. They're really, really rigid. So that's the JT Strong Arm jacks. That's my number one thing that I use for stabilizing. And I can tell you from growing up around fifth wheels and using the Kingpin type jack, you've all seen them, I'm sure, on a regular fifth wheel hitch, they're awesome. Okay, I'm not saying I would never have one. If I had the opportunity and they made one that would fit this application, I would. Unfortunately, the ones with the gooseneck ball on top aren't long enough. They don't have long enough legs for us. Not that our trailer sits any higher off the ground than what it did factory, because it's stock, but it doesn't work for us, unfortunately. So this was option number 2. After installing these, we've had them on for about 8 months now. They're amazing. I absolutely love them. You can definitely feel the difference, especially the side-to-side motion. When people are walking around, kids are running around, dogs are running around, anything like that. They're absolutely awesome. The second thing that I did, and this was more recently, was I noticed that even once we have all of our jacks down, the stabilizers hooked up, I still have a lot of overhang from the back of the rear jacks, which are right there, to the very bumper of the trailer. So there was a lot of room for play, and our living room is in the back, so that's where we hang out primarily. And when the kids are running around or anyone stands up, it kind of just shakes the tail into the trailer. Well, again, I didn't like that. I wasn't a fan. So let me show you what I did. It's not exactly the most ideal situation, but what I did was go to Harbor Freight and I picked up a scissor jack. Just a regular old scissor jack that normally you'd have on the travel trailer, maybe an older fifth wheel, whatever. It has the, I believe, 3/4 inch socket that goes on right there. I just put a block of wood underneath it. We get a lot of rain out here in Arkansas, so I didn't want it to start sinking with that little footprint of the jack. And I put another piece of pressure treated underneath my receiver, just again to expand the mounting point, and I just crank it up. So once everything's done up front, I have stabilizers on, it's been auto leveled, I bring this out and I just crank it up until it just feels stable. You can do it with a drill or the the handle that it comes with. Either one works just fine. You don't have to really crank on it and lift up the whole back of the trailer. You're just stabilizing it. So that's what I did for the second thing. The third thing is going to be wheel chocks. So this really helps with the front to back motion. So these are my X chocks. They're by a company, BAL. They make jacks and all kinds of stuff, but this is what I use. I just pulled my tire cover off real quick so I can show you guys. Not really an install video on this. It's pretty freaking simple. Use 2 of them, 1 on each side. If you have a tandem axle or double axle trailer like we do. If you have a triple axle, you'll probably need another set of them. But it comes with both jacks, or both chocks I should say, and it comes with the ratchet for the top here. I think that's probably a 3/4 inch as well. Don't quote me, I could be wrong. So basically, again, what I do is after I have the trailer auto leveled, I will come back and install these. So I'll tighten them up, squeezing the tires. You got to make sure that you line up both of the feet on both tires, so there's not like touching over here and then a big gap down here. You want them kind of centered on the tire. And then you just crank them down. You don't want to go too crazy again on them, but you just want it stable, and that's really going to help the wheels from both rolling, obviously, which you don't want it to do, and there is a lot of play because this piece right here is part of the suspension. So when you're technically bouncing around and the leaf springs are moving because you're sitting on tires, right, it's going to want to flex. This is kind of keeping those tires from doing that, being able to do that. So you're going to lose a lot of that flex when you're stationary camped somewhere. So again, I know there's a bunch of different models of these out there now. I like the BAL ones. I'll link those in the description as well. I've had no problems with them at all, ever. So they're just awesome. So between the strong arm jacks up front, the wheel chocks, and then the scissor jack in the back, this thing is super steady. Of course, you're living in an RV or you're staying in one, camping in one, whatever, you're on wheels. You're going to get movement. It's never going to be completely like a house foundation, but I can assure you that doing these little modifications helped out a ton. I purchased these, I think they're called snap pads. There's just this rubber piece right here that goes around the actual foot of the jacks for our leveling jack. They were quite a bit of money. It's a little bit of an investment for 4 of them. Since I have the red ones up front, which gives me a little bit extra height, I didn't want to put them on the front. I don't need them on the front. Plus, putting them on the front, I couldn't use the red Anderson ones anymore since those are magnetic, and that would kind of defeat the purpose of being able to magnet it to the jack. So I got these foot pads. You put them on once and they stay on. You travel with them on. You never have to worry about taking them off. I have never lost one. I have actually damaged one of them on that side, that jack right there. I actually bent that jack completely out of whack in a parking lot. We're not going to really talk about it. My wife loves to bring it up to our friends, but that's okay. I bent that jack, and when it bent it back, the curb also caught the pad, the rubber piece, and just pulled it off the jack. It has a little chunk missing from like this little area over there, but didn't replace it. Got a new jack, put it right back on the new jack, and all is well. You can kind of see the little chunk missing right there, but these are great. I also went recently, the last couple months, and purchased, I think it was one board. I think it was a 20-foot length board of pressure treated wood, 2x8, I believe, by 20. Anyways, I wanted to get off the gravel with the jacks. I don't know if any of you guys have had problems with it or not. We're in some pretty loose gravel here, and we've been here for quite a while now and plan to be here for even longer. And the problem is like when we get rainstorms or wind, the wind picks up, and we just had the jack down without wood or any blocks or anything underneath it, the gravel would kind of move, whether the ground would settle, gravel would be moved around by water or rain or wind, and we would notice after a little bit our trailer kind of goes out of level again. So I'd have to come back out, re-level the whole thing, and it was just getting kind of old for me. So I went and bought, like I said, the board, cut it into pieces. Each jack has 2 blocks underneath it, which gives me more range to move the jack up and down if I needed to, which is also awesome because I don't have it as extended as I would normally have it, which helps in itself. But also the blocks seem to give it a little bit bigger footprint again on the ground where it makes contact, and it doesn't seem to have an issue with the gravel moving as much anymore. So that's all we've done as far as like the jacks and stabilization of it, and I cannot be more happy. I guess the only thing that would make me more happy is if I could use the current situation setup we have with a kingpin jack, but at the moment I haven't been able to find one that works for it, so it is what it is. The kit for the JT strong arm jacks, which are the stabilizers right there, the X braces, those came with the ability or the parts to install on 2 more jacks. I've thought about putting them, you can't really see it, but on the back ones back here on both sides, I was going to install them on there, but it's weird because the way the actual jack hole is, the pin, it's kind of off-centered, so it wouldn't line up and attach up to the frame like the front ones did. It would just kind of be off. So without me drilling a whole new hole at the bottom of this jack for that bracket to go on that the arms come off of, I just have the parts in my compartment still until I figure out what I want to do with them. But it may help with the rear. I may, if I installed them correctly, I probably wouldn't need the scissor jack underneath the back receiver hitch. But for the time being, man, this is awesome. I'm telling you, I would never promote something I'm not a huge fan of. For example, these jack pads, if you want them, they're awesome. Gives you a little bit more pad touching the ground than just the jack on its own, but I don't really see the need for them, to be completely honest with you. I will link them, but it's kind of personal preference, honestly. I guess they would help on gravel, so it's not metal on gravel. Maybe it keeps it from slipping more. I don't really know, but I got them. I use them. Not completely sold on them. Don't really see the purpose of them. But yeah, the other stuff I definitely would highly recommend if you're looking, even if you have a fifth wheel with a kingpin jack, you still will get movement. I'm telling you right now, like, go get a set of these. They're absolutely amazing. And then a $40, $30 scissor jack in the rear, just make the world of difference. So as always, thank you guys for watching. Please hit the subscribe button, click on the notification bell, and I will be happy to answer any questions you guys might have. Leave me a comment. I really just want to help out. When we first moved into this thing, I did so much research on YouTube about full-time living in a fifth wheel with kids, what kind of upgrades you can do, what exactly you need to live in it full-time, or would make it easier, like an easier transition. And I had a really hard time finding stuff. So my goal with this channel is just to kind of help you guys out and let you see my recommendations and things that I never got to watch or hear about on YouTube. So that's what it's all about. I will see you guys later.